哈利路亚，奉主圣名祷告。这个指标都讲过。
So we have gone through that. 2.2.
不然就会点一太少。
Okay, we might not have covered much concerning 2.1.
So 2.4.
And then we also covered a little bit about 2.4. Okay, now we're going to talk about section 3. So what's your answer? So you have spent the last few hours thinking about us. What were you thinking about?
谁是班长？有没有班长？没有啊，那个做announce那个，你是多伦多来的，是不是？这叫什么名字？
你是？Johnny 是英国的 Elgin 的。
哦，你是 Johnny 啊？哦，
这个是 Johnny。
你不是 Johnny 6吧
？Johnny 6是在楼下。
你这叫 Johnny 什么 ？Johnny 啊？Hall。糟糕，哦，你是 Jonathan Hall 啊？是 Jonathan 嘛？
对 ，Jonathan。
怎么会叫 Johnny 呢 ？Jonathan。好，那请你回答。
Have you had an answer?
No.
没有人看，但是 face to face 没有看到。有一个赞美诗，哒哒哒滴滴哒哒，就是 face 要看神，对不对？有没有 ？face 看不到。
So you can't see someone face to face?
不是有点无助吗 ？vis-a-vis， 你说没有看到，好，谁是？有没有谁说看到的
？So anyone says that yes, you can see or you have seen or someone has seen God?
面对面没看到
？Face to face? No?
好，请。你翻译一下。
讲英文哦。
对呀，所以我才需要翻译啊。
他是说奥路灵受会的时候，不是你说，对啊，有人在新约的时候面对面见到神吗？
在新约面对面。
你是 New or Old Testament？ New Testament 啊 ，New Testament 啊，新约啊。他说不是我说，他说。
怎么面对面见到神？在哪里？
So where？
哎呀呀，
他忘了，他忘了。
有没有人看到神？
Has anyone seen God？
圣经有没有说摩西面对面看到神？有啊。
So did the Bible not tell us that Moses saw God face to face?
所以摩西有没有看到神？
Did Moses see God?
有，
Yes.
不然就有眼无珠了。
Now, otherwise, you have eyes but you're blinded.
好，新约里面
In the New Testament time,
说没有人看过神，
it says that no one has seen God,
没有人看到父。
and no one has seen the Father.
好，那所以有没有人看到神？
So has anyone seen God?
没有。
No.
所以你的答案有跟没有都对，
So whether your answer is yes or no, you're all right.
懂吗？
Right?
这就圣经。
So this is the Bible.
有没有冲突？
Any contradiction?
没有。
There's no contradictions.
你们还要学，就是这是两个不一样的层面。
What you need to learn is we're talking about two different levels or dimensions.
啊，
Would it be on the physical and spiritual realm?
不是，两个都是灵的。
So it's all about the spiritual in the spiritual
你
sense.
还记得吗？我们第二点是讲什么？
So for the second main point or the second section,
刚刚擦掉了。第二点是什么？
second section we talked about God is spirit.
对不对？
Yeah?
在以 God 是 Spirit 的时候，有没有见过？
So when God is spirit, has anyone seen God?
神是灵，
God is spirit.
是自有拥有，
So he is the I am who I am.
这是他的存在，
It talks about his
他的
existence,
本质，
his essence.
就是说，他是在没有人能够进到的光里面。
So that this says this. The Bible tells us that no one can see him because he was in an unapproachable light.
好，那在神的灵呢？
And what about the Spirit of God?
这已经进到天。这里如果是一个天的话，一个
So if there is one heaven,
神的灵，比如说七灵是复数的，
and so for example, God's spirits, we have 7 spirits which are in plural.
这是要显现给人的。
So these are manifested to be seen by men.
神的灵，圣经记载运行在水面上。
So the Bible tells us that the Spirit of God hovers on the water, upon the water.
那在以西结书里面哈，
In the book of Ezekiel,
神的灵，然后呢，其实是神的手，
the Spirit of God actually refers to the hands of God.
其实是记载着是神的手在他身上。
It talks about the hand of God upon a certain person.
神有没有手啊？
Has God hands? Has God some hands?
有没有？一定要有啊，不然神的手那么。
Of course, God has hands. Otherwise, we wouldn't talk about the hands of God.
圣经写什么你就说阿门，
So whatever the Bible says, just say amen to it.
不管你理解不理解，
Whether you comprehend them or not.
你不能说没有办法想象，那就说没有。
So you cannot just say, because I could not comprehend the concept or idea, then that doesn't exist.
然后再来思考，
Because
从圣经里面，
from the Bible, we need to contemplate.
所以在神的本质存在里面
So in terms of God's essence and existence,
，no one 啊，没有人看到，
so no one saw him,
对不对？
right?
好，那接下来呢，在神的这个是人可以达到的，
So this heaven is reachable by man.
所以在圣经里面有神的什么，神的什么，神的什么，
So that's why in the Bible it tells us God's something, God's other things.
神的灵就 God's Spirit
God's Spirit,
降在很多人身上。
it came upon many people.
那降在他这个人身上，那个时候你可以看到他的果效。
And so when it came upon a certain person, you'll be able to see the fruit or the result of it.
并且人会感受到。
And that individual will be able to feel it.
那在意象里面，人也看到了什么？人在意象看到神呢，常常是，或是看到耶稣啊，那个就是看他形象，几乎每个人都会讲那个脸是怎么样，就很荣光的，看不到就是一个眉毛啊、鼻子啊、鼻子很荣耀这样子。
So in terms of visions, when one is able to see God in the Spirit, you'll be able to see His form, but you'll not be able to discern His features.
有没有看到？有看到。
So you'll be able to see.
那至于在圣经里面跟摩西讲话，
And so concerning, how God spoke with Moses,
有两个方向。
there are two directions.
第一个，他能够进到至圣所，
Firstly, Moses was able to enter in the Holy of Holies.
在那个施恩座前，神跟他讲话。
That he was able to commune with God in front of the throne of mercy.
那是不是他看到了神的形象，我们不知道，但是至少是约柜之上的施恩座代表了神。
So we don't know whether he actually was able to see God, but at least we can see that upon the Ark of the Covenant, the mercy seat would represent the presence of God.
所以神说面对面讲话。
So that's why God says face to face with Moses.
那至于那个雅各呢？至于雅各呢？
What about Jacob?
他是跟神摔跤啊。
He wrestled with God.
那个人是应该可以摸到的
So it has to be someone that is, that you can touch.
啊。那个是一个意象的，意象
It is a vision.
那个不只是意象，并且在物质的层面上，他看到是真的一个人来了。
So it's not just a vision, but on top of that, in the physical realm, he actually saw someone approach him.
那个亚伯拉罕有没有看到神？
Did Abraham see God?
他看到一个而已啊。那神只有一个，
Only one God, right?
三个人之中是一个是神。
So amongst the three, one was God.
那神向他显现出来。
So God manifests himself to Abraham.
神有没有吃那个牛肉大餐？
Did God enjoy his feast of cattle? No,
他是
it's a calf.
不然怎么呢？牛肉大餐呢？
A
不
big
是
meal.
整羊啊，是整牛现杀的。
So it's a freshly slaughtered calf.
你们去过非洲，如果不要说什么，你等杀一只鸡来吃，至少2-3个小时才香香。
So if you have been to Africa, then if you want to slaughter or kill a fresh chicken, you have to wait for at least 2 or 3 hours before you can have the meal.
我不晓得你们是不是像我那个时候。我们去那个时候，在那个不建基，我还有一些鸡啊，但不晓得跑去哪里啊。我以前去都说这是什么 pasta call 的那个 chicken。
So I still have
在 Peter 的家。
some chickens, in Kenya, because previously when I went, they would say that these chickens belong to Pastor Cole.
我还记得那个有一个叫 Peter 有没有？不晓得还在不在 ？Peter 有一个儿子叫 Pastor Cole。
I remember that there was a brother called Peter, and he named his son Pastor Cole.
他都叫我儿子啊。
So he actually named his son Pastor.
他都说 My son, Pastor Cole。 有一次人家送我一只鸡，
So one time someone gave me a chicken as a gift
因为他来不及杀啊，
because he did not have time to kill it.
就带着啦。
So he just hold on to it.
我就说寄你养，
So 你说其他语啦。
我寄给他养啊，
So at the
寄
end,
在他那里。
so at the end, he gave me a live chicken as a gift. So I said, please look after this for me.
当然就会生小鸡啦。
And so hopefully it will rear chicks.
我好久没有去了，不晓得。
I haven't been a long
继续
time.
他没有把我吃掉，现在不晓得成群了。
So if he hasn't eaten all of it, then maybe I have a whole chicken is whole flock of chicken. No, not flock. What is it? Swarm? No. Huh? A bunch of chickens? How do you call chicken? Bunch of chicken?
好了，
Never mind.
好，这个去有时候去人家家一去，哇，他们整家就怎么样，拿那个抓鸡啊，然后就开始杀，至少要等2个小时。
So sometimes when you arrive and visit someone, they want to make a meal for you. You have to wait for 2-3 hours because they need to kill a chicken and prepare the meal.
有没有吃过？有哈，我到最后教他们，我教他们，
So at the end, I told them, please don't.
因为才在那里而已啊，煮汤放姜，我喝汤就有肉给他们吃。
So normally I would just say, you put it in the broth and, put some ginger in it. I would just drink the broth and you can eat the meat. Anyway. Another story.
神吃牛肉大餐，
So God enjoyed the meal of the calf, the slaughtered calf.
那些东西呢？以人来讲，吃东西一定要有进有出啊。
So normally for a human being, when you eat something, it would okay, it won't put it that way.
真的。
Yes, there is in and there is in and there will be out.
你有进没有出会死掉。
So if you only have in and no out, you will
医
die.
生在这里，对不对？
啊？
你如果1个月不上厕所，一定会不会死啊？会不会 ？Maybe 哦。
Maybe you'll die if
你
you
这个
have.
医生真是的。
If
我来当医生。
so we have been.
会死掉
This has been
我
confirmed
是
by a
说
proper
正常
doctor.
啊。会中毒死掉。
So you die of having too much toxin in you. Toxin.
会尿毒，会1个月哦，正常你把你封起来哈，不让你出，会死掉的。
So normally, if you do not go to the toilet for a month, then you will die.
应该会吧？拜托你说会吗？
So please say yes.
啊，谢谢你，
Thank you.
真的。神要不要上厕所？
So would God need to go to the toilet?
他吃了那一餐呢、
So because he ate a sumptuous meal.
不要讲什么了，耶稣复活了，
Okay, let's talk about after the resurrection of Jesus.
有吃饼啊，
He
吃
ate
鱼啊，
bread.
对不对？吃完之后，
So after he has eaten,
他就不见了。
he disappeared.
如果以物质来讲的话，那些东西会卡在那个墙上。
So physically speaking, then
Yeah,
those
it's-
material, physical matters got stuck on the wall, right?
会不会？
Right?
会啊，
Would
但
that
是
be
有
the
没
case?
有？
But did it actually happen? No.
没有。
No.
你用这个来想就好。
So just think about this, right?
耶稣吃完，哎，东西就不见了。
And so after Jesus has consumed the food, physically speaking, the food disappeared.
这个可以帮助我们来思考，就是不同的层面。
So this tells us, this helps us to think about some matters at different levels.
详细我是不知道，
I don't know about the details,
但是我们知道的哈，
but as far as we know,
这个是到最后才会知道的。
so because this is something that can only be known right at the end.
这个层面看到神的什么？神有面目啊！
That we're able to see God's face.
你这是都我们自己在想啊。
So this is just our thinking.
中文圣经很有趣哦。
So it's
来，我们来看
interesting.
一节。
Let's read a verse.
你能够上那个什么瑞玛吗？
Can you go online? Okay, 不行，
不行。
坏掉了。
来，我们来看一节。
Let's read a particular verse.
如果你看中文的话，
If you read the Chinese Bible,
就有人讲了。
some would say,
我们来看约翰一书第3章
let's read 1 John chapter 3,
第2节。
chapter 3 verse 2.
这里讲呢，从第1节开始好了。
So, okay, we start from verse 1.
1节、2节，
Verse 1.
有人读完这一节，
So after someone has read these verses,
如果你念中文哈，
particularly if you read the Chinese,
那中文说我们会看到神的真体
and here it tells us that, we'll be able to see the,
real body。
okay, literally the real body.
那就想说，神有一个 body，
So by extension, we say that, God has a body.
这是一个 spiritual body。
So this is a spiritual body.
好啊，但是呢，你来念一下英文就可以知道了。
Okay, verse 1.
反正你们都看英文的嘛。
Okay.
有没有人看中文？
Anyone read Chinese?
有啊，那我们是半国的，
Okay, chapter 3, verse
不是
1.
一个国了，是半个国。什么国呢？就是中文国。好了，我们看英文国。
Okay, chapter 3, verse 1. Behold, what manner of love the Father has bestowed on us, that we should be called children of God. Therefore the world does not know us, because it did not know him. Verse
我们是
2.
他的儿女哦，我们认识他哦。好，
Therefore, okay, we know him because we are his children. Okay,
世人不认识的。
this is the world does not know
第2
him.
节，
Verse 2. Verse 2, behold, now we are children of God, and has not yet been revealed what we shall be. But we know that when he revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is.
你看到神的真相吗？真体吗？
Can you see the real self or the real body of God?
不是啦，
Not really.
你看到他是什么样的事？
So you see him as he is.
意思就是 being 啊，
So it is a being that you'll be able to see.
就是那个出埃及记3章14节那个 Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh。
So that is as recorded in Exodus chapter 3 verse 14, I am who I am.
那个希伯来就是 Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh，就是 Ehyeh 就是 I am，Asher 就是 which， 有时候是that， 那 Ehyeh 就是I am。
So that's Hebrew. I am that I am, okay?
有上过，所以那个自有永有可不可以念出来？
So can we actually pronounce the name, the self-existing and eternal,
可
everlasting?
以呀，
Yes, it can be pronounced.
就是 Ehyeh 啊，怎么不可以讲？
So that's
可以的。
the I am in English.
好，那后来用这个大家知道嘛哈？然后神就这是第一人称单数。
So this is in first person singular.
那接下来神说我的名是那个是用第3人称。
And then God says that my name is, and then it will be, he used the third person.
可不可以念出来？
Can it be pronounced?
当然可以啊！
Of course. Yes, you can.
你不要说那个神的名在旧约是念不出来，你没有学希腊文，你没有学希伯来，当然念不出来啊。
So don't say that, the name of God in the Old Testament time cannot be pronounced. Of course, since you have not learned Hebrew, then you cannot pronounce it.
那你是外国人，当然是念不出来。
And because you are a foreigner, then you cannot pronounce it.
那你会讲只有子音没有母音，念不出来。
Someone says that there is only consonant without the vowels, so you cannot pronounce it.
这更糟糕。
So that's even worse.
没有母音，只有子音就念不出来吗？
Can you read something without vowels with only consonants? Do you understand what I'm saying? 不懂啊，他们不懂啊，他去年没有来的。
来，请你念一下那个。
That's Jonathan, by the way.
你念一下，你念一下。
Can you read that?
哎，你念一下。你念啊，念这个。
Just read it. Yes, Chinese.
啊？不是，你们不要打 pass 嘛？有没有问你？你会念得出来吗
Can you read those 3 Chinese characters?
啊？
You can't read it.
你为什么不会念？
How come that you don't know how to read them or
你
pronounce
没有
them?
学过啊，
Because you have not learned it, right?
你是外国人啊，
Because you're a foreigner.
懂吗？
You
很
understand?
正常啊，
So that's quite normal.
我会念啊。
But I can.
这个有没有子音？
Are there any consonants in it?
有没有母音？
Are there any vowels?
所以你不可以说没有母音就不会念。你如果讲这样的话，你一点那个 phonetic 的那个概念都没有。
So please don't say that without the vowels you cannot pronounce the word with just consonants, because that means that you have no idea concerning phonetics.
在这个范围，我们可以讨论的。我本身是学语言学的，是讲真的。
Okay. I learned language. He studied linguistics in uni.
是真的，也就是你说没有，你只是你怎么讲？你不知道事情，然后你爱讲话。
So you only talk about things that you don't know.
有没有子音？
Well, are we looking at any consonants in here?
有没有母音？
Are there any vowels?
说没有。
None.
因为这个是中文。
This is Chinese.
有五书嘛，象形、只是会意、转注、假借，用这个造字的，所以跟那个母音子音一点关系都没有，这是另外一种形式。
So in terms of the Chinese language, it's got nothing to do with vowels and consonants, right?
会不会念？
So, but are those pronounceable? Yes.
当然会念啊。
Of course, you can pronounce
那
them.
你从小就被教这样子。
Because, maybe you were taught from young, that's why you can read it.
中文它的形、音、义分开。形就是它的形状。
Hieroglyphic.
Graphic.
There's hieroglyphic and the pronunciation and also the meaning of it.
是分开。
Okay, so it comprises 3 different elements.
广东话会不会念？
So can you read it in Cantonese?
可以。
Yes.
来，请一个正确的广东香港人来念一下。来，你念。
約拿單。
用拿单。那中文呢？约拿单一样不一样？不一样啊。
So there's a difference between Mandarin and Cantonese, obviously.
那个闽南话呢是用拿单又不一样了。
So in another dialect, it would be totally different pronunciation.
这是语言学的奥妙之处。
So that's the mysteries behind linguistics.
所以以后不要再讲了，那个神的名在就会因为用什么子音写出来哈。
So don't say that in the Old Testament because the name of God is only written in terms of consonants. So that's why it is unpronounceable.
你讲这个可以，你说我们外国人又没有学过，所以念不出来。
It only works because only if you're a foreigner and you have not learned Hebrew, then that's why you cannot pronounce it.
在那个时候念得出来吗？
At that time, could this be pronounced?
当然念得出来了。
Of course, it can.
不但念得出来，
Not only is it pronounceable,
神还宣告他的名字啊！
God also proclaimed or declared His name.
神宣告这个名哦。
God declared that name.
到这里啊，神宣告说这样子啊。
Would God just say, it is pronounceable?
所以以后再不要讲说 这个是子音，没有母音，念不出来。对，是你念不出来，你念不出来，不等于说那个时候念不出来。
So in future, don't just say that there's consonants without vowels. That's why it's not pronounceable. Because yes, only you cannot pronounce it because you have not learned it before.
所以像那个 Jonathan， 你不要说这个念不出来。
So for Jonathan, don't say that this is not pronounceable.
因为没有子音也没有母音啊。
Don't say that. Oh, there's no consonant or vowels.
这样知道吗？
Got it?
好，我们来看那个出埃及记。
Let's go to Exodus.
出埃及记，我们来看34章
Exodus 34,
第5节、第6节。
34 verses 5 and 6. Exodus 34 verses 5 and 6. Now the Lord descended in the cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed the name of the Lord. And the Lord passed before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abounding in goodness and truth.
其实把它翻成 the Lord， 当时神是不是说 the Lord， 是不是？
In actual fact, in the English it says the Lord. Would actually God says the Lord?
不是啊。
No.
这是他的名字啊，他的名字就是宣告他的名啊，他的名就是要讲出来。
And so, God was proclaiming his name. So when he proclaimed the name, he would, announce his name.
以后把这个就翻成 the Lord。
So eventually, this term is translated as the Lord.
其实当时是可以念出来的。
But in actual fact, at that time, it is pronounceable.
每个都是子音哈。
These four Hebrew characters are all consonants.
后来他们很久都可以念哦，
And so for a long time, it can be pronounced
念过快要1000年了，
for nearly 1,000 years.
还没有了。
Nearly.
就从摩西那个时候开始念到被掳，
So it is from the time of Moses until the time of the captivity,
快要1000年的时候，
nearly 1,000
被掳
years.
之后，他们以后就认为他们因为念这个可能是亵渎神的，所以不念了。
But after
被掳之后，
So after the captivity, people have the idea that you can no longer pronounce it, because if you pronounce it, then it could be classified as blasphemy. So they stopped pronouncing it.
然后就把它念成 the Lord。
So they turned it into the Lord.
Adonai。
So in terms in English, that would be Adonai.
那其实后来那以后到新约看到这个，就也是照念 Adonai 的 Lord。
So when you reach New Testament time, when you see that word, you just pronounce it or call it the Lord.
所以我们一般所讲 YHWH 是在旧约是可以念出来的。
So generally speaking, the English transliteration YHWH is actually pronounceable.
你也不要自作聪明，现在说这个就是亚威，你要自己在那边创造发明。
But don't make it up and produce a name called Yahweh, because now you're making it up again.
亚威怎么来的？
How did the term Yahweh came about?
你去查一个人啊。Gesenius。
So you can look up Gesenius.
他是一个神学家，也是希伯来文学家。
He was a theologian and also a Hebrew.
现在全世界在用的希伯来文那个字典，他做的。
So basically, he produced the commonly used Hebrew dictionary now that we use now.
这是从德国的一个神学家，他是在17世纪、18世纪。
So he was a German theologian in the 17th to 18th century.
他认为这个应该念
And so it is him, after studying for a long time, then he says that, the first character should be pronounced as Ya.
为什么呢？
Why?
因为这是哈利路亚那个亚，
Because that is related to the Ya and in Hallelujah.
那个亚就是这个 YHW 的缩写，
Abbreviation. Okay, so that Ya is the
那
abbreviation.
就是亚，然后这个 verb 这是 A V 这亚 V，
And so the verb is
绝对对吗
Yahweh.
不知道。
So is that right or wrong? We don't know.
其实如果你要把它找出怎么念，希伯来文再怎么变，它有20个母音，
And so, if you study the Hebrew
各
language,
种形式啊，
they have got 20 vowels.
基础的8个
So we've got 8 basic ones.
那有变音的啦，然后就是绝对不会超过20个。
And so there are some transformations of it, and so it would not exceed 20.
你们数学不错嘛，我是普通，加起来多少？乘啊，
Oh,
你把它每个子音配20个母音嘛，用那个对不对？用激励啊，所以每个都配20，把它乘起来，对不对？
okay, what he's trying to say is if you connect a vowel with each of those 4 consonants, then there is a possibility of 20 times 20 times 20 of 20 pronunciation. So basically you have got 16,000 permutations.
你把配完之后，你把它放到电脑，就让它一直讲了16万次，一定有一次对。
And so, 165. So if you input all these into the computer and ask the computer to pronounce each of these combinations, then after you have gone through 160,000 times, then one will bound to be right.
一定有一个对。
Yeah? One, you hit it.
所以不要再讲旧约神的名字不知道，或是不会念，
So-
知道也会念。
So don't say that, the name of God in the Old Testament cannot be pronounced because it can be known and it can be pronounced.
他到最后是没有人在念，
But at the end of the day, people no longer pronounce it.
他们也不念。
And they stopped pronouncing it.
至于中文那个耶和华，其实是对知道嘛，King James 害的。
So for the Chinese, we have Yehovah because as it comes from the King James.
King James 之前没有这种东西，
And so before King James, you have no such thing.
那 King James 再翻成中文，
And then we translate the King James into Chinese.
才有耶和华。
Then you have the Chinese Yehovah.
在17世纪之前没有这个耶和华的东西的。
And so before the 17th century, this does not really exist.
就可以吗？
Right?
但是可以不可以念？可以。
So can we pronounce it? Yes, it's pronounceable.
那现在既然不知道怎么念，就算了。
But now, we don't know how to pronounce it, and so people just leave it like that.
所以，同样的，在旧约翻成耶和华的中文，在新约全部是漏。
So when you translate,
中文来讲都是主。
so in terms of the translation of this term in the Old Testament and to Yahweh, then
没有亚威了，耶和华了。
Jehovah. Okay, Jehovah.
耶和华是那个英国的，亚威是德国的。
So the same term in the New Testament will be translated as the Lord.
亚威是那个给这 news 出来的。那耶和华就是那个 King James 出来的。
And so Yahweh comes from German and Jehovah comes from English.
两个都，你也不能说绝对错，说不定碰上了。
So you cannot deny that they are absolutely categorically wrong because there's a slight chance that they might be right.
但是呢，有16万可能，
But there is 160,000 possibilities.
这样知道吗？
Understand what I'm saying?
好，那这就是神哈，
So now we're talking. Now, so that would be the Lord,
神的名。
the name of the Lord, the name of God, rather.
啊，那在这个神的名哈，或者神的灵，
And so concerning the name of God, or God, the Spirit of God.
在圣经里面中文就是说耶和华的灵。
And so in the Chinese Bible, it will says, the Spirit of Jehovah.
那现在英文没有耶和华的嘛？
But now the modern translations of English no longer contains the term Jehovah.
现在还有吗？
没有。
没有了，英文改了，中文还有。
But obviously, the Chinese term exists in the Chinese Bible.
英文啊，
中文
中文新版的也有啊，就是和合本还有啊。啊，不要为这个吵架，
No need to argue about this.
知道就好。
Just need to know about it.
好，那所以你如果查中文的，你要查耶和华的灵。
So if you want to search the Bible, the Chinese Bible, then you will need to input the term Jehovah's Spirit.
啊，这英文没有的，你要说主的灵。
Or, in the modern translations of the English Bible, you would say, the Lord's Spirit.
那如果你打英文的 Lord Spirit 或者 the Spirit of Lord， 你打下新旧约都有。
But if you input that in the English Bible, then you will find this term in the Old and New Testament.
那在什么中文的圣经就要分开打。
But for the Chinese Bible, it will be two different terms for the Old and New
如
Testament.
果你有瑞玛的话，
So if you have Rhema,
你自己上一下，其实是一致的。
and you did a search, you do a search, and you see that they are actually one and the same.
好，那我们这一节是谈的是神的灵。
So this session, we talk about God's spirits.
那神的灵，其实在我们来看那个，它是整个从创世纪第1章第2节就开始了。
So this term appears first in Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 and 2.
在创造的时候，
During the time of creation.
我们看创世纪1章2节。
Let's turn to Genesis chapter 1, verse 2.
好，来请念。
Verse 2, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters.
好，再来看诗篇104篇30节。
Let's further go to Psalms 104, verse 34. Oh, sorry, 104篇
第30节，没有吗？
verse 30. Verse 30. Psalms 104, verse 30. You sent forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the earth.
所以这个创造用什么？他发出他的灵，对不对？
So in terms of creation, it was God who sent forth his spirit.
好，在约伯记26章13节。
Job 26, verse 13. Job 26, verse 13. By his spirit he adorned the heavens, his hand pierced the fleeing serpent.
好，这节讲什么？
What's this verse about?
26章13节。
26, verse
我
13.
们说神的灵，对不对？
So it talks about his spirit.
他是神嘛。
And his refers to God.
那再看33章第4节。
Let's also turn to chapter 33, verse 4. Chapter 33, verse 4. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life.
好，那这里讲跟创造有没有关系？
Has this got anything to do with creation?
有，
Yes.
所以这里都是神的灵哈。
So it all refers to the Spirit of God.
那在神的灵，我们也讲过哈，都是神在工作。
So when we talk about the Spirit of God, it talks about the work of God.
当神在工作的时候，
So when God works,
神一工作，就是他的作为。
and so when God works, He works.
那神的作为，他的对象是谁？
And so who are the objects of God's work?
我这次忘记看几点下课。
没有那么快，15分，15分，15。
哦，还没有。你没欠我3分钟，不要。
Don't forget that you owe me 3 minutes.
那在神的工作里面，我们看到的3一是什么？
So under the work of the spirits of God, what can we say in 3.1?
是不 concerning 什么
Concerning 3 points concerning
？creation。
creation.
要不要加的啊？
Okay, concerning the creation.
好，
3.1a.
就是那个整个全世界的
So the world,
人的，
human.
不是吗？神的灵造我们，
So God made man, created man.
借着他的灵，天使有装饰啊。
So the Spirit of God made me.
哦，在这里所看到的，就是万物的这造作，就是神的灵运行在水面上那个，还有呢灵界的，还有我们人的。
And so we see that the Spirit of God hovers upon the waters and the creation of the world and us.
这就是神的灵。
So this all attribute to the Spirit of God.
创造这3个层面，
And so we have 3 different levels of this creation.
这样可以吗？第一个就是物质界的，神的应许在哪里？水面上。
So first is the physical realm, wherever the Spirit of God hovers.
那接下来是神的灵，天使有装饰嘛？这是天使的，使天有装饰。
And so the
约伯记26章13节。
Okay, and then in Job 26, verse 13, it talks about how His Spirit adorns the heavens.
那再来是讲人了哈，
And then it talks about
他
man.
发出灵，我便塑造，
And so by His Spirit,
对不对？
man
你
were
就
made.
用经节来讲就好了。
So we can say it, we just use the biblical verses to say this.
这已经超过我们所想的。
So this already transcends, what we can imagine or think about.
那再来呢，就是神的灵的工作，使人有能力。
And then the Spirit of God gives power to people.
所以这就是神的灵哈。
So that would be the Spirit of God.
那我们很简单，我们来看那个创世纪41章38到41节。
So let's look at Genesis 41, verses 38 to 41. Okay, Genesis 41, verse 38. 38, and Pharaoh said to his servants, "Can we find such a one as this, a man in whom is the Spirit of God?" 39, then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Inasmuch as God has shown you all these, there is no one as discerning and wise as you." 40, "You shall be over my house, and all my people shall be ruled according to your word. Only in regard to the throne will I be greater than you." 41, and Pharaoh said to Joseph, "See, I have set you over all the land of Egypt."
好，这个不用再解释了。
So I don't think this needs further explanation.
来，我们再看民数记27章18节。
Let's also look at Numbers 27, verse 18. Numbers 27, verse 18. Verse 18, and the Lord said to Moses, "Take Joshua, the son of Nun, with you, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay your hand on him."
好，这是好。那继续看下去哦，很多 就是神的灵，神的灵。
So you can do a search and sees that, numerous times it mentions the Spirit of God.
出埃及记35章这个看过了31节。
We already read Exodus 35, 31.
早上我们是看31章，现在是看35章。
Okay, this morning we read chapter 31, but we same in 35, chapter 35.
好，前面。
Exodus 35 verse 30, and Moses said to the children of Israel, See, the Lord has called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. And 31, and he has filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom and understanding, in knowledge and all manner of workmanship.
所以神的灵在他身上充满他。
So he was filled with the Spirit of God.
那神开始工作，对不对？
God started to work.
错了，
Wrong.
谁在做？
Who was working?
人在做。
Man was working.
神在他身上，使他能够做。
And so God was upon that particular person to enable him to do.
这就是神借着人来做。
And so this is how God made use of a human agent to work.
当然主权在神，
Now, of course, the sovereignty is rest with God,
工作在人。
but it's up to man to work.
这个是，如果你去非洲了，
So if you go to Africa,
你说完全依靠神，
you say, we have to trust wholeheartedly or totally to God.
我打破自己，没有自己，
I've got to break myself.
无己的侍奉。
So I have got to offer myself, without ego, without self.
那你就躺在那里，
So you just lay there.
我无我嘛，我不动。
So there is no more me, so I don't need to do or move.
这样能做什么？
So what can you do?
什么都做不了。
You could not do anything.
你说神，如果你要我做的话，你要举起我的手要做什么？
And so he says,
你
God,
你
if you
说
want me to...
无我，我变成什么 robot 这样？
So you say that there is no longer an I in me, so whatever you need me to do, you need to lift up my hand, then I become a robot.
这样叫做无我吗？
So does it mean that you have forsaken yourself?
那我想你是被邪灵工作的。
So maybe you have been you're now possessed by an evil spirit.
有一个传道，
There was a preacher.
他很讲属灵啊，一定要属灵。
He concentrated, or he kept on emphasizing being very spiritual.
他上台，
So he went up to the pulpit.
他唱诗，
He sang a hymn,
完了之后
and afterwards
再唱诗，
he says, "Sing another hymn,
再唱诗，
sing another hymn."
最后他说今天聚会结束，
And at the end, he says, "We will conclude the service here
因为神没有感动我，
because God has not inspired me,
我是无我的侍奉，
because I serve without a self."
话直接要从神来，
So because the word must come from God directly.
你不用准备，
So no preparation required.
没有话，
There is no word,
没有启示，
no
没有感
revelation,
动，
no movement.
结束，
So we end.
好过马路，
And so,
这是两个人哈，另外一个
okay, another person wanting to cross the road,
红灯了，
red, traffic light is red, turns
这
red.
个是属世的，
And so this,
靠信心走过去，
it says, so he would just walk.
结果他就被卡车撞。
So he walked by faith, crossed the road, and he was knocked down by the car.
后面这个还好一点，后来他就要听说了哈，这个是一个长老讲的，他要学主耶稣走海面嘛哈，靠着信心，他就从他的家的阳台走出去。
And so he wanted to learn or imitate Jesus walking on the sea. So he get out of the balcony and wants to walk, on air, and he obviously fell down
就死掉了，
and he died.
这个还好一点，
So
应
that's
该得救了。
that's okay for him because at least he could be saved.
那这个要追求灵感，这个后来就跑到外教会去了。
But the preacher who actually pursued spirituality or spiritual matters, eventually he end up in another denomination.
最糟糕的就是他去了外教会要接受洗礼，
The worst is, he received baptism in another denomination.
洗礼完之后，当外教会就很高兴了， 就出那个刊物说，哦，真耶稣教会的传道也归真。
And so the other denomination was extremely happy and published the event or announced the event, saying that a preacher of the true Jesus Church has now come to the truth.
后来他也离开了。
And so he left the church.
你后面你可以知道的，其实是魔鬼已经控制。
And so later on, you'll be able to see that he was totally taken over by Satan.
这个是危险的。
So that's obviously very dangerous.
神能力充满你，
When
神的灵啊，
when the Spirit of God fill you,
谁来做？
who's going to do the work?
来，我们看那个罗马书，
Let's look at the book of Romans.
罗马书第16章。
Romans 16.
这个以前呢常常在讲嘛哈。罗马书16章
Romans 16,
第20节。
verse 20.
昨天晚上那个福法传道他是讲15节嘛，17节以下。
Last night, Preacher FF talks about 17 onwards.
好，那第20节。
But now we read verse 20.
好，我们同心默祷。
Let's pray in silence.
阿门。要休息啊，3分钟还回来了。
So thanks for giving me back my 3 minutes.
那这个下一节就是要问你的。
So the next session, I will ask you.
这个跟我们刚刚讲的什么关系？
What's the relationship between the words that was quoted to what we have been talking about?
下课要休息。
So take a rest.